Hey. Welcome back, guys. I'm Mason, and with us today is Nick. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just hanging out, living the dream,
Well, yeah, elevating your perspective.
as always. What you been up to lately, Mason?
No, I've just been trying to better myself. You guys might not know this, but unlike Nick, I like to work out a lot. But I usually just do powerlifting because, I don't know, for some people, it's just lifting heavy things is more fun. And I kind of fall into that trap sometimes where I'll just go and try to do a bunch of squats and bench press and try to be a strong guy, but then I don't really think about functional fitness at all. So I started to do cleans this last week. I haven't done them in a while, but I really like it. I like it's more of a dynamic workout, and hopefully I can start getting in better shape. Nick got to start at square one though, right?
Well, something I've been looking into is like my sister-in-law. She does like this Beachbody thing, and I don't know. I've heard good things about Beachbody. Other podcasts advertise it. I don't know. I think it's good. I haven't tried it myself, but that's more
Is that what
CrossFit.
is what she does? Is it actually what is it, like a P90X? Or I thought she it was just more like for like older women per se.
No, like the Beachbody. It's more. So it's CrossFit. It's for guys and gals, but they have like hundreds of videos. Like if you get like the subscription, you get access to like hundreds of videos on their website. Like it's the P90X, the Insanity, and like tons of other stuff like that. They even have like yoga classes,
Well, I
Zumba.
will
You
say,
could dance.
you know, a lot of people you'll hear them talking shit on CrossFit, like, oh, it's they're not real lifters or whatever. I don't. It's an interesting argument. I think part of what it is because CrossFit has blown up and just in the socially, so everyone's trying to do it. So a lot of people that are trying to do CrossFit, they might not be actually working out hard, so that's why people talk shit on it because it's like, oh, you're just doing jumping jacks and you know, uh, skipping or whatever. I don't know, but I was actually watching this documentary on Rich Froning. He was the winner of the CrossFit Games for like 4 years in a row, and it was badass. It was really badass, and so then I think then what happens when I watch him or I start to learn about more about the actual CrossFit Games, I start to think that maybe people are talking shit because they just want to be big, tough powerlifters, but don't actually want to get in shape.
Well, I feel like the difference in like powerlifting and CrossFit is, I guess powerlifting is you're stronger, but CrossFit is like you're still strong. You just have better definition, and
Well, I
it
mean,
just depends on the person's body
it's not
type what
even
they
that.
want to go for.
I think we talked about it on one of the last episodes, but it's basically part of our entire philosophy here is learning new skills, right? And I think that's one of the things that really hinders people, especially when they're older, is they don't want to learn a new skill, right? So when you're if you're just lifting the same basic lifts, you don't have to learn anything new. You just try to lift heavier weights. But in CrossFit, every event can be different every year. They're constantly adding new things, so you have to learn new skills in addition to being in shape. Because I know, for instance, with Rich Froning, there's two things he was bad at. One was swimming, and two was rope climbing. So this man, he had won the CrossFit Games, but he could barely even swim because they did one of the events in one of the CrossFit Games was swim out. It was like a mile swim or something in the ocean. In the ocean, one that's way more difficult than regular swimming, and then the other one was rope climbing. Like he literally couldn't figure out how to climb up a rope because he had never done it, he never trained on it. And guess what he did? He came back the next year being an expert at rope climbing and being a very good swimmer. And I think that might be part of the reason why people talk shit on it is because they just don't want to accept that they might have to learn a new skill.
Yeah, I feel like there's a diverse set of workouts when it comes to CrossFit. Like you could say, "Oh, I'm doing CrossFit," but CrossFit could be like 10 different workouts, 10 different body parts you're working out. And when you're just doing lifting. Like if you say I'm gonna lift today, you would usually say like I'm gonna bench today, or I'm doing arms today.
Mm-hmm.
But CrossFit, like you're always doing full body, multiple different things each time.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting sport, and I think, I mean, just where we started with this, everyone should be working out. That was part of our 2 episode special. We talk about bettering yourself, and I completely support that. Working out is huge. Whatever it is, if you don't work out at all, just start somewhere. Start with something, because I think that people go, "Oh, it's a natural high." I mean, no, it's shitty. Like it hurts, especially if you haven't worked out in a while. It's not fun, but it's good for you, and it'll make you feel better in the long run. You'll look better. You'll just overall benefits you, and maybe you might also live longer because you're healthier, if that's anything you care about at all, right?
Yeah, but oh, that actually has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. But that's a good note to have. That's something you should be doing. But so today we're talking about an actor actually, and he's a very successful actor. He has a very interesting life, and I think we want to talk about him today. We're going to talk about Tom Cruise.
We are talking about Tom Cruise. So, Tom Cruise. When we talk about actors, some of you guys might think, "Oh, well, they're famous people, they're celebrities." But no, there's for every actor that we've talked about, there was something special about them, something that actually made them, controlling their own destiny, pursuing their own individual freedom. Whether it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was a foreigner who came over here and had multiple successes, whether it was Peter Dinklage, who overcame the impossible to get to get to where he is today, and now Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is an interesting person. Um, yeah, when you look at what he's done, he's always been in good movies. Like there's never been a bad movie. His first breakthrough started in 1983 with Risky Business. Then he was in Rain Man. Everyone knows Rain Man. He's done 6 Mission Impossible movies.
Those
When you
movies are
look
the
at
best.
right,
What I want to do, I want to sit down and watch like all six in order.
right,
I've done it with the Batman movies. I haven't done it with Fast and the Furious yet, but
yeah, and that's one of the things with a series like that, especially when there's 6 in them, is they usually decline, and it's usually just the series trying to fight to just make a little bit more money to get that next release out there. For instance, the Pirates of the Caribbean. I personally like them, and I think that all of them are interesting just because it's a fantasy world and it kind of intrigues me. But a lot of people will say that they're forcing it, that the series should have ended a long time ago. And that's probably because they got complacent with what they were doing. But then you look at the Mission Possible movies, and they are amazing every time. I don't know anyone who would say that they weren't.
well, I actually think the most recent one that came out like 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I think that one was. It's personally my favorite one. I thought that was one of the best ones yet. Like it's only gotten better in my opinion. Which like that's a hard thing to do when you start off with just one story, and I don't think they planned on making sequels. It just turned out that way, and they just kept making them better.
well, one of the reasons why they're so good is because of Tom Cruise, because he's out there to win. He's out there to do something new every time. One of the quotes that I have from him is, "Here's how I've lived my life. I've never been late to a set. I make films I believe in, and I love what I do." And what that means is, what you guys don't know is if you look into actors' lives, a lot of them are assholes. A lot of them will show up late to set, will hate on, their co-stars. They'll have they're acting like gods with these fancy requests, and they're there to be catered to, and they need like they're just there to make the money. They're not there to do something better. And With Tom Cruise, it's different. He loves acting. He loves um, learning, and that's why we just talked about learning new things. That's why his movies are so good because he does his own stunts. In his Mission Impossible movies, for instance, for there's two things that I thought were really incredible. One is he has three skydiving scenes. Specifically, they were halo jumping, which is high altitude, low opening, and you guys might know that from the military because it's a special forces type of skydiving where you'll jump out super high so you're undetected and then fall as far as you can go to stay undetected, and then you open late, and then you stay undetected. But regardless, all I'm saying is that it's a very tricky maneuver. And what he did is he did 106 jumps to get that close up. Because what you'll see if you ever look into a crazy stunt scene, you won't see the actor's face usually because it's not them doing it. But in this case, he did them all, and he did 106 of these jumps to get the video necessary for the scenes. And that's just amazing. Like he doesn't need to be doing that, but he went for it and he did do it.
Yeah,
What do you think about it?
well, and something else about that quote that I liked is like how he said, "And I love what I do," and I feel like we talk about we hit that all the time on the show, doing something you love to do. And I don't like we talked about Peter Dinklage, how he had a rough time getting into acting, but he was doing what he loved to do. And I don't know what was Tom Cruise's path, but he just did what he loved to do, and he's making it work. I guess you could say he's living his personal freedom.
One of the things that he did is this is just one more stunt that I think you'll find is interesting. He was jumping off, and this is again for his most recent movie. He was jumping off a building onto another one, and he actually broke his ankle. And he continued the scene, climbed up the wall, ran on a broken ankle to finish out the scene, so they didn't have to redo it. And then after that, he took a couple months off to heal before he finished the movie. But that's just another example of how many actors out there are willing to break their ankle and run on a broken ankle to finish a scene, especially when you're that rich. I mean, when you're already that successful. But that's why he continues to be that successful, because he pushes it farther and farther every time to make sure that he's making the best possible, movie that he can.
That's just crazy, running on a broken ankle, and to finish the scene. That I don't know how long that scene was, but it had to be at least 30 extra seconds. But yeah, basically what we're saying is he put in the work in his movies. Like, just think about it. Like, what was the last movie Tom Cruise did that wasn't good? Like, it's like when you see him in like a movie preview, or if you're at the movie theaters, I like to call them mini movies before the actual movie starts. Every movie he's in looks amazing, and then when you actually watch it, it's amazing. And like, well, what kind of brand is that? Like, where you see his face in a movie, like, man, that's a good movie. That's a high quality brand right there. That's the Freedom Empowered brand.
Yeah, it is. It's freedom empowered all the way. And you look at, and just to contrast it with other actors, you look at someone, sorry to call him out, but Nicolas Cage, he's almost obsolete at this point because he just kept taking movies to make money, and he wasn't selective about taking only good movies. He wasn't selective on how hard he was going to work. I think that if you research him, there's a lot of like issues that he has, and that's why he's kind of fizzled out, because there's always someone coming for you when you're the best. People think this is a big point is people think that just because you're big, just because you've won and you're on top, that you're just going to stay there and then like your work is over. It's not. If you want to stay there on top, you got to keep working, probably even more than before, because now you have a crosshair on your back. There's so many people trying to beat you and trying to best you, like you're literally a target. And you have to just keep on pushing forward. And I think with Tom Cruise, now we'll start talking about his accomplishments and just look at the man in general, because we talk about on Freedom Empowered, your personal freedom, your personal definition of freedom, it's going to be unique. And so if we were just to hear and talk about how he is as an actor, you know, it's pretty amazing. But then you start to understand the full picture when you look at the rest of his life and how he really does live unconventionally. He and you know, one thing with freedom of thought is he is a Scientologist, and so it's kind of funny. It is. I mean, but what do we, let's get right to the point. When you're talking freedom of thought, he's thinking differently, and I don't know, and I'm not going to support or deny him. All I'm saying is he's different, and he's doing his own thing. And I don't know if Scientology plays a factor in his success or not, but
All right,
it's
so
interesting.
since Mason won't say it, Scientology's kind of batshit crazy, but but hey, if it's his life, if it makes him happy, I got nothing against it. You know, like if that's what he wants to do and it makes him happy and that's part of what brings him to his personal freedom, go for it. No matter how batshit crazy it is, I'm okay with someone practicing Scientology. I will never,
Well,
but
what if it's that batshit craziness that's making him successful? If you look at the people that have achieved the most in life, a lot of them are kind of crazy. They're OCD about something. They're just highly focused on what they're pushing. It's a mission. It's a warpath. We talk about this. It's a warpath. It's not just this is what I like to do and I'm going to do it. It's a warpath. They're going to just be pushing forward aggressively and pushing everyone out of their way on their path to achieve the dream. And maybe it's that craziness that has got him to where he is. But I mean, go for it, Nick.
yeah, I'd agree. Well, everyone's got their little bit of crazy or that little pet peeve or that little thing about them that is different from everyone else, and for some people it gets them farther. Some people it holds them back, but uh,
I mean, you
like
you look at
well, in Tom Cruise, for example, I don't think Scientology holds him back or brings him forward. In my personal opinion, I think that's just something about him.
and another thing is he doesn't live in the middle of LA in one of the little celebrity, compounds where Beverly Hills or something like that. He actually has a pretty badass ranch in Colorado, and we'll definitely post some pictures of it on Facebook throughout the week. But go check it out. It's amazing, and it definitely shows how he is breaking the mold of your standard celebrity, and it really embodies all of our principles of freedom of movement. He's always traveling. He's always going back and forth. If you guys just need to go check out his compound in Colorado, and yeah, I would want. I think what really inspires me is I would want to live in a place like that. I don't care how rich I am. I don't care, what my job is. I think that Colorado might be the best state in the union. What do you think, Nick?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best state in the union, but I would say it's up there. Or Colorado has really nice places. It's a place I live too, but it's not my first choice. I would say my first choice is like by a beach. I don't know. I like the water, the beach and stuff, the sand, the warm sand between your toes. Man, that's the best right there.
Yeah, I think I don't know because everyone that says I think that you might be fitting a mold, Nick, because everyone says, "Oh, the beach would be awesome. I want to go to Tahiti. I want to go to Fiji." But how long are you going to sit on a beach before you're bored?
Well, if you go in the water and swim a little bit, surf a little bit,
You can't even swim.
I didn't say you have to be good at swimming. I just said you can swim a little bit. But
Yeah, I guess. No.
but I don't know. I like the snow and stuff. snowboarding's fun, but would I rather snowboard or swim in the ocean? I'd probably say swim in the ocean, but everyone has their own personal opinion.
I mean, I personally would want to live somewhere where I can go kayaking, snowboarding, hiking, fishing, camping, you know, be out there with a little bit of wildlife rather than just sit on a beach. I mean, maybe if you're in Hawaii or something, but there's just so many beaches that aren't even that exciting, but everyone wants to live near the water. And it's like, cool, you're near the water. You're not even ever going to go in the water. So what's the point?
Yeah, I guess that there are some people like that, but I feel like the people whose dream is to live on the beach actually want to go into the water, and then there's people who live by the beach and are like don't really care for it. They just happen to live by the beach.
Yeah. But just that unconventional lifestyle, it just intrigues me to learn about people that are doing things way differently. Like, I don't know if you guys know this. You guys know Yeti, the coolers? They, one, it's supposedly, I don't have one, but supposedly some of the best coolers around. Or at least they've built a brand where everyone thinks it is, which, what's the difference? But they started part of I guess advertising is they're starting to promote these videos, kind of like a Red Bull style video, where they go and just uh, create like a 15-minute clip about somebody out there doing something very unique and interesting. And one of them that I just watched was about duck hunters, and it was interesting because it was about duck hunting, but it was more about the dogs, the hunting dogs. And this guy, he's like 65 years old or whatever, and he's on his seventh hunting dog just because he's been doing this since he was young, and he names them all Sam. I don't know why, but it was interesting, and it was just talking about how the lifestyle, wherever he's from, he's somewhere from the lives in the South somewhere, but when you go and you think about what it is that you're doing or what your hobby is or what does your life revolve around, maybe it's work, maybe it's some sort of other hobby, whatever it is. But for this guy, it was duck hunting. And it's just intriguing to see that there's such unique lifestyles out there that people haven't even thought of. And that's why I say, you got to go try new things. Freedom of movement equals freedom of thought, which equals freedom of action. They're all related and they all are interconnected because that's how you get this full picture of freedom is you got to try new things. You got to go out there and broaden your horizons a little bit. So maybe some of you that are listening to this podcast and you're living in New York City or LA or something, maybe duck hunting might be your favorite thing, but you don't even know because you've never tried it. I'm just saying you have to try new things, and that's how you figure out exactly what you want to do.
Well, yeah, I like what you said there. How like freedom of movement equals freedom of thought. Like if you've lived in one place your whole life and you've never experienced anything else, you don't have you've never experienced the lifestyle or the way people act, the different societies in other areas. Like I guess my analogy would be like if you're going golfing, it's like playing the first 9 holes and then just leaving. You didn't play the last 9. The last 9 could be better, the last 9 could be worse, but you'll never know. You'll never have that experience if you don't play the full course. And I feel like freedom of movement is a pretty easy thing to do nowadays. Like you're able to travel in a snap of your finger. I feel like everyone should be hitting all 18 holes just to have that life experience.
Have you even golfed before, Nick?
I have.
All right. But yeah, I just think people today are buying stock lives. Like, they go, okay, here are my options. Let me pick one and run with it. Why not create your own category? Why not? If you want to work an office job, but then you love the outdoors, there's office jobs out in the countryside too, where you can enjoy both. Or if you love the outdoors and you want to have like an outdoor job, but you also really like video games and you're a computer nerd, why not mix and match? So many people just fit this mold where there's some aspect of their life that they're not happy with. Why can't you mix and match? Why can't you build your own custom life? Why can't you do something that's very unique? Like, I know another quick story. I know a guy who he lives in the back country in Washington State, not DC, and he works in Seattle. He's a computer programmer. He like works in Seattle. He does techie stuff, but he lives like 2 hours outside of Seattle, and he has a big piece of land with his own private airfield, and him and like seven dudes share it. And he has his own airplane and hangar, and all he does is go fly around all the like. That's what he does for fun. But he's a computer programmer. Like, first of all, I didn't even know you could own your own airplane. Well, I knew you can own your own airplane. I didn't know you could like have your own personal hangar and airstrip. But I guess you can do anything you want, right? As long as you just go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, I haven't met this guy Mason's talking about, but that sounds like an awesome life. But exactly what he said, like you could have so many different proponents in your life that contradict each other to a normal person, but you don't really want to be normal. But I think maybe that's just a societal thing where everyone has stock lives, everyone has like what they like a mold of what they should do.
Yeah. It's like a tribal mentality. I don't want to get too psychological with you guys, but if you look at human nature, people definitely are tribal. You try to build these groups that are like inner, smaller communities. And I think that's one of the big issues with major cities nowadays is you might be living in a place with millions of people, but you might feel more alone than ever because you don't have your own group, you don't have your own tribe, and that's when you look at you. You always hear people talk about, oh, if you guys know someone who is from a small town or something, and they're always like, I love it, I want to go back. It's like, what do you mean? There's only like 2,000 people. They're like, but I know everybody. Everyone is friends. Everyone is works together and has a similar lifestyle, or they've connected somehow based on something, and so they feel more. So even in a town that has less people, they feel more connected. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, one guy is you guys know who Joe Rogan is. If you listen to his podcast, he was just on with a um, a comedian who does. He lives in a town in Arizona with like 5,000 people, and he wouldn't want it any other way. It's human psychology. It's interesting, and yeah, I just think that if you start to have a different perspective on life, maybe you might make a change that you didn't think was possible.
Well, yeah, I feel like humans in specific aren't meant to be in like fabricated groups like where everyone's exactly the same. I feel like that's just like robot crazy shit right there. I feel like it's better if everyone has like their own things, but you can still come together as a community. Everyone has like their own thing they can add to it. Well, Mason and I have talked about it even in the business world. You don't want someone with the same skills as you. You want people with other skills so you can all work together and accomplish one goal.
Someone, maybe the person that you need the most in your organization or on your team, or maybe your best friend is someone who's different than you because you teach each other different things, and it's a yin and a yang, right? The yin and the yang's been around for a while. I think Nick is the yin and I'm the yang,
Ying is cooler, so I'm cool with it.
uh, but another quote by the focus of our show today, Tom Cruise. He says, "I disagree with people when you think you learn more from getting beat up than from winning." Kind of relates, but when you think about it, how many people have like listened to their parents or just some? There's just this general consensus, maybe from the older generation, that's always like, hey, like this, like maybe they see someone being young or just screwing up or just uh, living, I don't know, maybe stumbling through life. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I remember when I was in my 20s. I got to let them be young, got to let them make mistakes and learn. No, fuck that. If you know what you want to do and you aren't lost, run with it. You don't need to go and screw around for 10 years trying to get a handle on this thing called life. You're allowed to jump ahead of the curve. You're allowed to start now. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I'm only 18 years old or I'm 22 and this is kind of where I want to be when I'm older, but you're like, oh, all my friends just want to screw around and work a part-time job and just, live that sort of lifestyle. No, you go and you start working hard, and then when all of your friends are ready to start focusing on their dreams, you'll already have achieved yours. It's as easy as that.
Well, I in my opinion, when it comes to this goal, I agree and disagree with it. So I agree to the point where what Mason's saying, but I also disagree. I feel like you learn a lot of things from your failures, but not if you're just sitting around and getting beaten up that way. That's different from you pursuing your goals, your dreams, and then you getting knocked down then. Because if you're pursuing it and you get knocked down, you're getting beat up on your way towards success, you can actually learn things so you can get there, so you can eventually get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Everyone has to break away. You have to break away from the mold. If you want to achieve your own personal definition of freedom, you have to be unique. You have to take a step back, sit down and be like, what do I want? And we talk about it, write it down. This is what I want. This is what I need to get there. This is where I'm at now. And a lot of you, when you comparing where you're at now and where you want to be, you're just not living the lifestyle necessary to get there. And it's some easy changes. One of the hardest parts is making friends that have a similar mindset than you. It's hard. I know. But there's people out there. There's people out there that wanted to do what you're doing, that would love to pursue their dreams alongside yours. So go find those people, go find that environment. If you have to move across the country to do it, do it. It's not that hard. It used to be hard. This isn't the pioneer days. You don't have to take 6 months on a horseback to get somewhere new. You can fly across the country and start a new life. You know what I mean? And if your biggest issue is money, and you say, well, I don't have the money, how much does it really cost for a plane ticket? Work your ass off for 2 or 3 months, save up the money, line up a job, buy a plane ticket, and start your new life. But because it's no one else's fault but yours if you don't do it. There's no amount of excuses that can get in your way. There's always an excuse. There's always an excuse that a lot of people will support. They'll be like, oh, that's a valid excuse. I'm not saying it's not a valid excuse. Whatever your problem is, it could be legitimate. And I could be like, wow, man, like that does suck. Like you do have a pretty decent argument for why you can't succeed. That's cool, but we're talking about winning here. And at the end of the day, if you want to win, you got to make it happen. You got to take massive action to make your dreams come true.
Yeah, no. The easy thing is to figure out why you can't succeed. The hard thing is actually getting to where you want to go. And that's all dependent on your effort for it, how much you actually want to do it.
Right. And honestly, the more unique and niche of an idea you have, the easier it might be to achieve. Maybe you're breaking through into a new field that doesn't exist yet, like we talked about. Maybe you just have a skill that's so unique that no one else is in competition with you. But we'll finish it off with one last quote by Tom Cruise. In this life, it's not what you hope for, it's not what you deserve, it's what you take. That's just what it comes down to. You can dream all you want, but if your ideas don't leave your head and hit paper and hit action, they can stay in there forever, and nothing's going to happen. It doesn't matter how much you deserve something, how hard you worked to achieve something. If you don't close the deal and make it happen, it's it's not gonna happen. And the same thing, it's where he says it's what you take. There might be someone out there who has twice as many credentials as you, who has 3 doctorates, and you're thinking, well, they deserve it way more than me. I don't have any credentials. There's no way I can make it. Did he go and take that job? Did he go and pursue it? Maybe, maybe not. That's what you got to do.
Well, yeah, and even if you feel like you're the one who deserved that promotion or whatever, and someone who you felt didn't deserve it got it, well, maybe next time there's a promotion, you've grown more from that. You don't look at that as like a, dang it, I'm never gonna get promoted. I'm just gonna stop trying. You look at it, it's like, I just gotta get better. You gotta, you can't be stuck on that part and take what's yours or what you think is yours. You just gotta go for it.
Right. Never be negative. Never make an excuse. Go out there and take what's yours. That's all it comes down to, and that's what Freedom Empowered is all about. It's creating your definition of personal freedom and making it happen. We can talk about 1,000 people who have done it themselves, and you can learn from them, and you can guide your dreams based off the people we talk about here. And you should get inspired by them. You should learn, you should take their ideas, and you should emulate them. But at the end of the day, the only person that can make it happen is you. And we'll do our best to make sure that you're set up for it. We'll give you easy paths. We'll help you out. We'll give you new ideas. We'll teach you how to take action. We'll talk about people that are taking action. This show is here to push you in that direction, but the only person that can make it happen is you. But yeah, that's pretty much all we got for you guys today. Just think on that. Start to embody the principles of freedom, and who knows, maybe a year from now or 5 years from now, you'll look back and be living your personal definition of freedom. Thanks, though. Talk to you next time.